In today's video we are reviewing the IWATA TAKUMI ECLIPSE. Back to a review on the new IWATA TAKUMI ECLIPSE airbrush. I'm going to give you a little run through on the brush now and what I think of it. We'll do some comparisons to the other IWATAs and just see what's new and different about this brush. So first, looking at the brush, it's typical IWATA. You've got your nice finish to this, nice chrome finish. Feels quite weighty in the hand. Comfortable brush, well, it seems like it's going to be a really comfortable brush. You have got your trigger adjust on the back like you do on the Micron, and also the HP SP Plus has got this adjuster on the back. It's a double action airbrush, so you will press down for air and then you'll move your trigger back for paint. This is a side cup airbrush, so you can mount this cup either side. You've got a pin on the side of the brush here. You take that pin out and you can put the cup that side or that side if you're left or right handed. This has got a redesigned cup on this, apparently for better paint flow, but we'll see that later on in the video when we come to spray test it. When you've got it in your hand, it feels a very small brush. When you compare this to the Micron, this is the CMSB Custom Micron. When you put them together like that, when you look at it, as you can see there, the trigger on the TAKUMI is more forward and the brush is slightly shorter than the Custom Micron. So it feels like when you've got your hand on it, you're really up close to the front end. Than the Micron, you're sort of sitting a bit further back. So that's what I first picked up on. You've got the same angled trigger as the Custom Micron, but on the top this one slightly kicks in at the front. As you can see on the Micron's more squarer. The TAKUMI slightly angles in on the points there. So when you've got your hand on it, it feels like you're holding the Micron trigger. It's really responsive, nice and soft, really nice movement on that trigger. So that's definitely the upgrade on this Eclipse. To the front end, you've got like the crown cap at the front, looks like a crown. When you hold it up like that, you've got your little prongs coming out. But I always tend to work with these off. You've got a little bit of exposure on the front needle at the front. So tip dry, I'd recommend either into a sponge or do my method with the two toothbrushes and just clean your tip dry that way. That would work. Quick connect on the bottom. You also get your filter that you could connect to the bottom. I'd recommend putting a filter, or once you've got your quick connect, it's nice to have that little bit of extra here where you can hold with your hand. It just feels a lot more comfortable. Looking back at the brush, the rear end of this brush, the body at the back, is absolutely identical to the HP SP Plus. It's the same back body, so you're getting the same rear end body off that brush. You've basically got the trigger off the Micron, but this one just slightly kicks in at the front. Side cup, you can use, if you don't want to use the bigger cup, the other cups off the Micron, they clip straight into the side, so you can opt for the smaller cup. If you've got another IWATA with the smaller cups, that will fit to this brush, so that's a nice little bonus that you can use the smaller cup. I prefer the smaller cups because I think once you've got this big cup on and that's got a bit of paint in it, they can feel, because you're closer to this body now at the front, your hands more closer, this to me just seems quite bulky on that side for a big cup. I prefer the smaller cup, and the work that I'm doing, the small cup is more than good enough for the amount of paint that you need. It's nice that you've got a cap on the top. I think you can get the caps for the smaller cups, but it is a bonus to have a cap on because that does stop the paint drying up in the cup, gives you a little bit more work time. So that's a bit about the brush. This is a 0.35. I think it's the same as the old Eclipse, which I've got here. So that was the original one, that one there. And then when you look at the size of these again, it's a smaller brush, the new one, and you are so much closer to the front end. As you can see on them triggers, this is a lot further forward than the old one. What we'll do is we'll get hooked up with the airline. I'll drop some transparent in it. We'll do some passes with the transparent, see what sort of detail you can get down with it, sort of coverage, and then we'll go up the pressure and down the pressure with transparent and opaque, and we'll just see how this Takumi performs, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. I'll leave all the links in the description on where you can purchase this brush if you'd like to purchase one. And yeah, let's crack on. Let's get into this spray test and let's see how good this thing is. Right, we're all set up. I've got some transparent in the Takumi. We're running 30 psi in this. That's on the main line coming up, and I can adjust the air pressure and just knock it down and we'll see what we go. I'm going to take the crown cap off at the front, and I've got the two toothbrushes just set up down here so we can just run that across for tip dry. So what I'm going to do is just going to do some small dots and just getting used to this trigger. You can get really tiny dots with this. It really feels responsive like the Micron. Going down, the trigger feels lovely and soft. Just got to get used to it. It's very responsive like the Micron. We'll do some big dots now. And we'll go full pack. You can get some really nice coverage on that, and that's atomizing really nice. That's a really soft fade out on them dots, so it atomizes really well. The trigger's nice and smooth on this. We'll do a bit of lines. So yeah, lovely performance on the brush. Atomizing this transparent really well. One thing I don't like about it is the big cup. If you've got a lot of light coming down, you're getting a lot of glare off. That's like a big chrome cup in the way for me. The smaller cup would work a lot nicer, and it's more out the way. You get more view of what you're working on, because if you've got something in front of you there, as you can see, looking at that cup's just, I'm having to hold it this way so I can look at the brush here and sort of keep my eye off that. But if that's the small cup, it's sort of tucked away. It may be because you're close to the front end on this, because you are nearer the front end of the brush. And you notice that you know it's a small brush. You seem very closed up on it. If you've got big hands, I've got quite big hands, as you can see there. It feels like you're really sort of cramped over it. If you sort of see what I mean, it seems very small, and that's sort of big, and you're right up close to this front end, and your hand feels really clenched up around it. Some of the other brushes, when you get a longer body on the brush, it just makes you open your hand up that little bit more and you can feel a bit more relaxed and comfortable. You seem quite closed up on this at the front, but that's my opinion on it. That's why I don't use the Micron so much now, and I'm always jumping onto the Creos because they're a longer body. And it just, if you've got big hands, it's just nice that you feel a bit more relaxed, stretched out, a bit more comfortable. With this, you just seem a little bit closed up. But other than that, it performs really well. Really well. It's an IWATA at the end of the day, guys, and all the IWATA brushes are good. They know what they're doing when it comes to brushes, IWATA. And if you are an IWATA fan like I am, you will buy one. Triggers really, really nice. It's so comfortable with that. I love the slope triggers at the front. They're really comfortable on your finger. You've got the little grip lines in there and it just feels so comfortable. That's one thing I like about the Microns and these, is the triggers. You can drop this style of trigger to other brushes. It'll make other brushes so much nicer, because that flat on the top, it's just, you can get your whole finger over it, or if you sit, some people sit with their brushes like that. I tend to sit, just rest the pad of my finger there and then steady with my thumb, and it's just so comfortable. You can dial in the back, so you can bring that in, that will stop your trigger. If you bring that back, you can adjust your paint flow, but I always tend to have them fully open, so when I'm cleaning and flushing through with paint, you've got full control. You can blast through and you're good to go. I tend to paint quick, so I'm jumping into colours quick, blasting through, getting it down. Some people sit, take the time and they'll use this for dialing in on your distance and getting your paint flow. But lovely brush, another cracking brush from IWATA. Price point on these I'm not too sure on, because there's so many different places where you can get these and all the prices vary, but I'll leave you a link in the description to a site where you can get it from, which is a good price. So I'll leave that link in the description for you. But yeah, I'd comfortably sit with this. For trigger softness, it's a nice brush. You can sit here for easily 3-4 hours with this in your hand with that trigger. But for me, that stubby little brush, I like the bigger brushes, and I think I'd get a little bit of hand ache with this personally. So that's the transparent, and it, as you can see, that's atomizing absolutely spot on. Lovely soft atomization on that, lovely fade off there, really putting that paint down nice. So another cracking all-round Eclipse. You can get super fine detail with it, you get a nice bit of paint coverage. You're getting the bonus of a lovely trigger. You do get the bigger cup. If you want to get more paint, you've got a lot more paint you can put in, and you can swap the cup over, which is a bonus. If you're used to the small cup at the side, you can change it. But push the paint down, spot on. I will eventually get one because I love my IWATAs and it's just another one for the collection. So that's the transparent. I'll get set up, give this a clean through, and I'll drop some opaque in it, and then I'll do that now. I'll just drop this pressure down. And as you can hear that now, that's dropped right down. And super, super fine, guys. With that pressure down, you can see that, them little tiny lines. That's performing and atomising that absolutely spot on. Response on the trigger for dots and detail is second to none with these. Beautiful trigger. Once you've had about 5-10 minutes with this brush, you're straight in and you know exactly when that paint's coming out. You get that trigger and you got it dialed in, you're away. So that's with the pressure right down. That's probably about 12 psi on that, and I reckon that would go down more. Yeah, that's down even more, and that's still atomising that paint. All IWATAs atomise the paint, even the big guns. They're renowned for atomisation. Their big spray guns are superb. They really are. On atomisation, they're so good, and it just goes across the board with the airbrushes as well. The atomisation on IWATAs are brilliant. They really are. So that's the transparent. I'll see you in the next step. I'll get set up and we'll drop some opaque in it. Right, I've just dropped some opaque in. So we've got some blue opaque in this. I'll put the pressure back up to 30 psi and and again, tiny little dots, not a problem. I've now got the feel of this trigger now, and I know exactly when that paint's going to do its thing. So there you go, that's full back with the opaque, and not a problem at 30 psi at all. It's atomising lovely, and you can get super fine on the lines again. We're going for palm trees, like in my previous videos. But yeah, atomises again, really nice. If you get your paint dialed in, you're away. As with every airbrush, the minute you get your paint dialed in, get the right consistency, all the brushes will perform spot on. So a lot of it is down to your paint, but that's super fine again. Not a problem at all. Really nice brush. Great for detail. Just got to keep an eye on your tip dry. Like on every airbrush, you are going to get tip dry. A little less with solvent, but when you're using acrylics, you'll get your tip dry. I've dropped that pressure down and it's just starting to grain up on that. So as you know, when you come down your pressure and you start seeing your paint getting a bit grainy, thin it down and away you go. Or when you up the pressure, that sorts that graininess out. You can hear it. That's when you know it's grainy. You get that gravelly type noise. So just sort your paint consistency out. and you're away. So that's the opaque test and atomising again, really nice. As I say, just get your paint consistency sorted and it will perform absolutely spot on with both paints. Solvents it would be amazing with, because you know what, if you're an airbrusher, you know how solvents perform. They just perform really well. They'll dry quicker. But yeah, brilliant. Another brilliant brush by IWATA. Can't knock it. And if it's around 200, just over 200 mark, yeah, worth it all day long, because you know it is going to last. They're built to last. I've got IWATAs that are 6-7 years old, some that are 10 years old, and they still perform absolutely spot on, and this will. They're solvent proof, the front ends on these and all your internals, so you're good to go with solvents, acrylics, all your water-based sort of line through it, not a problem at all. Cleaning this, me personally, as I've done with all my IWATAs, I'll just blast through with water if I'm using acrylics, give it a flush through, and if you've got any stubborn dirt, I'll just chuck solvent thinners in there, give it a clean, wipe the cup out, blast it through, and then blast it through again with water. Job done, and it goes back on the shelf. And I've had no troubles with the IWATAs doing that through my career. They've been absolutely spot on and always perform. But peace of mind, always, if you're working with the cap off, I've said it in my other videos guys, if you're working with your crown cap off, keep an eye on your needle, because it's so easy to dink it into the board or on the panel. Just remember that you're working with your cap off. Always check your tip dry, and then when you're finished your airbrush spraying for the day, clean your brush out. Always clean your brush, because if you keep a good clean brush, you get better work out of it. So yeah, look after that, and then that will look after you when it comes to your painting. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on the IWATA TAKUMI. I've enjoyed spraying with it. It's a cracking brush. Recommend it, yes. I'll leave a link in the description, as I said. So that's my review on the new IWATA TAKUMI ECLIPSE. Gets a thumbs up from me. I will get one. This one's on loan to me for a demo test. So a big shout out to Dell Flake King for sending this over to me so I could do a review for you guys on the channel. So that's my review on the IWATA TAKUMI ECLIPSE. Recommended, yes, big thumbs up from me. Cracking brush. The only thing, the downsides of it, for me, I don't like the big cup, but that's my preference. You might really like that. And it is a smaller brush, guys, so if you have got big shovel hands like I have, you can feel very closed up on the front when you're working with it. You can feel very, because your triggers seems a lot closer, you can seem like you're overhugging the brush and your hands sort of clamped up. You're quite close. Because I'm so used to the Creos now, as I said, the Creos seem a lot longer. I love that long body on the Creos. It just makes you stretch your hand out, and it just feels like nicer. If you've got small hands, you get on absolutely cracking with this. So they're the only 2 points I would say I don't like about it. Everything else, trigger, absolutely spot on. I want to nail it with the triggers. They really do, and the responsiveness of the triggers, superb. Brilliant for detail. You've seen it on the opaque and you've seen it on the transparent, what it can do. And it absolutely smashes both paint sources down, and it will do with solvents as well. So yeah, brilliant brush from IWATA, recommended, yes. I'll leave a link in the description, as I said, on where you can purchase it from. The next video that's coming up is another review, and as you've seen in my videos, I always use shields when it comes to doing portraits or intricate pieces, and I've just been given for the next review. It is the Art Tool Pocket Graphics by Scott McKay, and I'm looking forward to doing this one. If you don't know who Scott McKay is, have a look on YouTube. An amazing artist, does some really cool stuff, and he's got his own range of shields, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this review because these look a really trick bit of kit in this box. So that's the next review, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.